Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another hobby live stream. Hello, Tim. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to everybody who's joined us on the rewatch later. Hope you've had all had a good week. Got plenty of hobby done.
What is this hobby you speak of?
What have you been doing, buddy?
Well, this week?
Yeah. Anything much?
Not a lot. Sorting out 3D printing bits, that's about it.
Oh yeah, you've been hitting the printing like a demon, haven't you?
Yes, well we have a task in front of us, and
we do.
Somebody's got to do it.
Got a hill to climb. That's what we've been getting all of our Frostgrave monsters sorted.
Yeah.
So, the only hobby I've done off stream this week was to finally get all of my Forge Father models assembled.
You lie. Saturday. Canary paint. Let's give you flashbacks to Vietnam.
Canary paint. Oh, Christ. Yeah. Let's discuss that, shall we? So, the only pleasant hobby experience I've had this week was finishing assembling my forefathers.
The unpleasant hobby experience.
Yeah. Well, so I've now got all 36 infantry, I think it is, assembled. And the whole list comes to 950 points and a bit, I think.
950 and a bit, not exactly precise then.
So essentially a 1,000-point list, good enough for me. But yeah, we also did some hobby on Saturday, didn't we, mate?
Yeah, I came over to yours.
Yeah, and we did some work on the 3D printed Frostgrave terrain that we showed off a few weeks ago. So basically I had used a yellow filler primer that David had recommended to smooth the layer lines and that, because it's all FDM printed, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
So and it was a nightmare covering the yellow.
Well, it tends to be a nightmare to cover anything when the light you're working under is absolute dog shit.
Yeah, admittedly, the kitchen... Hello, Crispin. Admittedly, the kitchen lights didn't Crispin. Help the situation. Obviously, that was a mistake. But,
a rookie error on your part.
Yeah. But even with that, oh my God. I mean... Sorry, I'm just adjusting the lighting because I'm a little bit overexposed. If anybody's got experience with that yellow filler primer, put it in the comments, or you guys can feel free to wade in the chat. But out of the 6 or 8 buildings, we've done 2 that don't have the filler primer on. And I'm going to be interested to... They've basically... Because what we had to do was we used the filler primer on the raw FDM to smooth the layer lines. And then I had to go back in with Vallejo black and grey primers to put like a proper undercoat for painting on it. Bear in mind, it's a lot of stonework, so it's going to be drying. See, Crispin's got grey filler primer. That sounds a much smarter idea, Crispin. Out of interest, mate, what have you got a brand? Where do you source that? The only stuff I've found...
Where is this sorcery? Because I've only seen, what's it called? Yellow in the UK.
Yeah, I've only ever found yellow when I've done online shopping searches. So if you've got a brand, shout it out, boy. But... I'm interested to see when we get every step finished whether the 2 that we didn't fill are actually noticeably less liney and grainy than the others that we did, because for the amount of time smart move, Tim. The amount of time it took to actually cover that yellow, because the problem is the yellow is so stark against the dark grey. If you've missed any recesses or whatever, your eye automatically picks them out. Rust-Oleum. Okay. Well, Rust-Oleum is a product range we can get here in the UK, isn't it, mate?
Yes, it is.
We are going to have to look at that. Thank you very much, Crispin. That's a good tip. If anyone's asking, do not use yellow filler primer on models unless you intend to paint the model some sort of orange or yellow. Because it's just too much work. It's absolutely too much fucking work. It's ridiculous.
See, I haven't had issue, but it's because I then go over with a black aerosol.
Yeah, I guess. You just blast it with a second aerosol primer.
Yeah.
Certainly
not
using
really aerosol.
Using airbrush primer was like soul destroyingly difficult. Regrets. So that's the two. Many? That's one piece of shared hobby and one piece of hobby I've been doing. So on to tonight. I'll go first, if that's all right, mate. While we do the show tonight, I intend to finish painting this. So this is part of our Frostgrave Monster set. This was the boar. I showed it off last week, I think, or the week before when we were doing paint competition. I didn't actually get this finished, but I've got it based, as everyone can see. So we're going to do a quick and dirty paint job on this and get it banged out.
In a nutshell.
Just a few shades of brown, pick out the tusks and the hooves, wash the hell out of it.
Orange boar.
It looks very orange at the minute, but obviously I'm sure it'll colour correct. To be fair, I'm going for quite a reddish brown palette with it anyway, so I intend to do like the darker fur in mahogany or a colour like that. So we'll see. But that's what I'm planning. What are you busy with tonight, mate?
Go down to the camera.
I will do for everybody at home.
Currently painting my favourite red.
Your video's offline, mate. I don't know, is it? We had it at the beginning, but we've lost it now. Crispin's tip is very gentle. It's very useful. I'll give him that.
Yeah, reload the webpage. Come on, you bastard. No audio. Back camera.
Pumpkin butt. Do you know what? Good call.
There you go.
Yeah, that's better, mate. Right, here we go, everybody.
Painting my favourite red.
We're on the Armada. So this is you're cracking out the Pro Acryl, are you?
Yeah, the Pro Acryl red.
For the old Armada.
Good old bold Pyrrole. It's gorgeous. It's going down a little different than the flags, but I don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing. And I've got to go higher on my highlights. So, again, no bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily want everything the same colour, though, do you? Want a little bit of differentiation in there.
So,
excellent.
That's what I'm on tonight.
Right. Back
and
to
then
the
possibly, if this is done, get some primer down on some Frostgrave stuff for me.
Excellent. So, the next thing, I guess, is we can chat about what we did at our club night on Monday.
Yeah, again, another shared week. So, unfortunately, boys and girls at home, we have no individuality this week because we played AOS.
Yes, we did. Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. Just get myself
not your favourite.
No. This paint needs shaking the hell out of. So we played Age of Sigmar 3rd edition, didn't we, mate? We tried the Triumph and Treachery variant, which is the multiplayer version.
Yep.
With the two of us and Ricky.
Yeah.
I was running 1,000 points of Khorne Bloodbound.
No, you weren't. You were running 710.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We were reduced points. I remember now, because of Ricky's got a starter box for Daughters of Cain.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Got no battle line in it, but GW saw that out.
Ooh. Just Tim shouting out there, he's painting his Frostgrave soldiers with speed paint. Excellent. I'll keep my eye out on them for looking for pictures on Instagram when you've doing that, Tim. Are you planning to add that to your project out of interest on tabletop? Because I really love the colours you put on the wizards.
That rat was a gorgeous detail as well, dude.
Yeah, they really put the extra level in on the old terrain even, didn't he? So yeah, funnily enough, we'll be coming back to speed paints a little later. So I know Crispin's normally at work, so I imagine that's what he's doing.
Is Hugh and Laura here yet, or not?
I haven't seen them in the chat, but Laura's a notorious lurker, so just saying that could be what's going on.
Either that or Littleton's playing him up.
Excellent. Tim is going to be posting some pickies, so we'll have to have a quick look at them when they go up. These colours are very similar. Still, it's not necessarily a bad thing for an animal. Gives quite a coherent look.
Well, this one's a twat.
So yes, mate. Coming back to what we were doing on Monday night. So we're playing.
The elephant in the room.
We're playing Age of Sigmar. I had Bloodbound. Ricky, as we've said, was running the Daughters of Cain starter box, which is no longer available. And you were running an Orruk War Clan, weren't you?
Iron Jaws.
That's it.
Technically.
Yeah. And we went the distance, didn't we? Full 5 turns.
Yeah.
I was eliminated completely, wiped off the board by turn 4. But that was my fault, really, because I did play a bit stupidly aggressive. Because ironically, the Orcs do aggressive way better than Khorne does in Age of Sigmar. Khorne don't have the... Well, certainly not the Khorne models I own, don't have the damage output potential of David's Iron Jaws. Probably because it's an older book or an older list format. But yeah, I got completely punched off the board. Even Ricky's list, the way we'd built it. Hello, Laura. Laura's... the lurker is here.
Jeez.
So, yeah. Even Ricky's army was punching well above, its weight, compared to mine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
His sort of triple combo of Hag Queen,
Slaughter Queen, and that Avatar was
the Christ
brutal.
Almighty, they were putting out some wounds.
That's got to die early next game.
Yeah. To be fair, I think the other thing is you were much better able to put all of your resources in the same place at the same time, so your forces didn't end up divided, did they?
No, to be fair, you and Ricky were kind of on 2 fronts, whereas you started out quite aggressively against me, and Ricky's miles away from me, so I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to just start steamrollering, and then I'll come get Ricky after.
Yeah, divide and conquer. I mean, again, to be fair, Ricky did the same. He just grouped everything up and just made himself a little bubble of death, so that when you did go to tackle him, he could just pile in with everything and then attack, get everything off at once, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I got wiped off the table turn 4, and to be fair, because the only advantage really for me doing that was it tied David's forces up, and David just miscalculated that last turn, didn't you?
Yeah.
You didn't really give yourself enough time.
Well, again, I had shitty run rolls in turn 4.
Yes.
So rather than use them to their full extent and expose myself for a turn, I was like, fuck it, I'll be alright next turn. No.
Yeah, no. Because for those who haven't played, the Triumph and Treachery mission that's listed in the Age of Sigmar core rulebook is essentially it's not points based like the stuff out of the General's Handbook. It's literally a binary win condition. There's a single objective in the centre of the battlefield. If you hold it at the end of the game, you win. So it's very cut and dried in the way that it plays. I guess in terms of the multiplayer thing, what they're trying to go for is that everybody literally just piles into the middle and kicks the crap out of each other, which would be the smart way probably to have played it. But David and I got sort of bogged down on a flank, and Ricky just went and squatted in the middle of the board and put all of his troops in a big bubble.
Well,
So
again,
that,
I had deployment first, and I spotted that you can't place minis within 9 inches of an opponent. So I basically made myself as wide and as big as I could.
yes, because there's in Triumph and Treachery, all of the deployment zones are adjacent, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you sort of like pushed Ricky back into a corner and pushed me away from you effectively. But then after deployment, I won the I won the role to go first, and I was looking because David deployed gore grunters. They're like massive orcs on boars, like giant boars. These things are huge. And I thought, well, I've got a choice as I'm going first. I either get aggressive and charge him with everything, which I managed to do, or I let him charge me, and that just seemed like a bad idea. But unfortunately, I didn't do anywhere near enough wounds to soften the unit up, and then it lashed back with reinforcements and completely crushed me.
Yep.
So yeah. I mean, it was all right. It's Games Workshop. I'm not going to say it was the best game I've ever had. I think you enjoyed it more, didn't you, mate? But your list, it's like I said to you at McDonald's, your list hasn't ever let you down.
No, but again, we come back to it's pretty hard to make a bad decision when there's only 2 battle line choices, 3 HQ choices. If you're playing just pure Iron Jaws, it's like, okay, everything works.
That is true. That is true.
There is literally nothing to go wrong or select that's like, oh, that's a bit shit or suboptimal. It's just like, no, everything works. Everything hits like a freight train. Deal with it.
Yeah, because the other thing we noticed, or I noticed when I was writing up the lists for everybody, because I did little printouts for us to use instead of having to flip back and forth between battle tomes and what have you, is that I think my list had something like 4 A5 pages of army rules. Ricky's had 3 or 4 pages of army rules. David's list, all of the army rules fitted on one side of A5.
It's just like,
so it is point and click. Honest answer, Tim, is Peachy leaving GW big news? I don't know, because I don't know who Peachy is. I've seen the video because I think he's gone to work with some other content creators. But as they produce basically Games Workshop content, I've got no idea who they are. And I've never watched any of their stuff. So, honest answer is I don't know, mate. I don't think it's particularly groundbreaking news that Games Workshop lose staff from now and then, do they? I mean, Duncan Rhodes was the last big name to jump ship, wasn't
he? Yeah.
You know, you can understand why these people want a bit of independence and freedom from the machine. If they've got genuine skills, genuine talent, and they can, why wouldn't you?
Free from the shackles.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you spread your wings? And I think GW are quite realistic about it. I don't think they're going to bother one way or the other. They'll soon find somebody else to fill those shoes. They're a big enough company, aren't they?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, AOS was all right. It wasn't bad. It wasn't brilliant. I mean, again, we come back to the point of you were writing out the list, weren't you?
Yes.
And saw what my Mega Boss can do.
Yeah.
Which is basically when he kills a unit or kills a model in a unit, he gains wounds and attacks.
The attacks is worse than the wounds. A lot of things gain wounds, but he starts off with 8 attacks as a model, and then to go up from there is just brokenly good.
Yeah, however, the entire game, he didn't pull it off once, did he?
No, because it's written in quite a specific way, isn't it? Where he literally has to deal the killing blow. Which is actually, because of the way wounds are applied in AOS, and you get overflow and overspill, it's actually trickier than you'd think to make sure that a particular model's hit kills kills a multi-wound model particularly.
Yeah, he's got, well, again, a squad of multi-wound models. If he charges into something that's trash,
yes,
and he's all 1 wound, that's how to play him to his best ability.
Yeah, you're right there. That's his gravy train, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, you're all single wound models. This is easy. But that wasn't really how it worked out. He ended up scrapping with big characters, which again is, I suppose, that's part of the way that AOS works, isn't it? If you are throwing him into a chaff unit, your opponent's probably like, fine, you carry on. So yeah, that's what we did.
Because again, like, you didn't even get to use your delete sword.
Well, no. Again, my general had a similar thing where he has something called an reality splitting axe is the rule, and if he does even 1 wound on a multi-wound model, and that model is alive at the end of the combat phase, then you roll a dice. On a 5 up, the model dies regardless of how many wounds it's got. Which sounds brilliant. But the mistake I kept making was attacking with him first.
Yep.
So he would put like a floating wound on, like, for example, one of David's 5 wound gore grunters. But by the end of the combat phase, I've attacked with 2 or 3 more units, and it's just sort of died organically. So it ends up mattering not one bloody jot, which is a bit frustrating.
And again, it's like, oh, look at this rule. This rule's really cool, but it actually makes the game more complicated because you not only are you in an attack step, you've got to then fucking plot who's attacking what, in what order, who can weather the incoming storm, in what order. It's just, it complicates matters.
It does. It adds, some would say it adds a level of strategy, but the problem is, it's like, do you really want to be attacking last with your big hitting model? Or do you want to make best use of it and attack first?
Yeah, chew through the unit with it so that the unit doesn't lash back at you.
It is, but then again, it's funny because when you play it, it's a piece of, one would almost say it's a piece of game balance that is built into the strategy of using those models that you wouldn't be aware of looking at it on paper. I suppose this is the moral of this story is like this feeds back into the Votan thing.
Balance.
Hello, King Tiger 8. What? Tactics in my tabletop war game? Apparently, yes, some people do that, mate. Yes. Apparently. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim, coming back to your comment. Do you mean why did Peachy wait 20 years to leave? I'm not really sure what you mean. I mean, if that is what you mean, then my obvious statement would be these people only leave when they've already established themselves as a name and they've got something to lean on when they leave, if that makes sense. So, 6 months after he joined, I don't imagine Peachy was, the asset he is now with 20 years of experience, if that's what you mean. If you mean something completely different, you'll have to illuminate me, mate, because I don't really know where you're going with that. Yes, welcome, King Tiger.
He's going to need a powerful torch from Germany.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I'm sure he can rustle one up. They're pretty good with the old tech, these Germans. I remember having a Denon sound system for a long time. It's very good. So, yes, welcome, King Tiger. So, we have a tradition. Are you working on anything, King Tiger? Because we like to see people busy hobbying in the chat. That is the whole purpose of the show. To get people to motivate people to get a bit of work done while we do some casual V2 will suffice. Yeah. Typical aggressive German. Fucking ridiculous.
Fucking mentions the war. Who won it twice? We love you really, Tim.
To be fair, one would argue that the Germans did win the war, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't more than half of the scientists on the nuclear weapons project in America German?
Yes, but does it technically count if you steal every other fucking thing? Imperialism? I'm
just putting that out there, you know, that Tim might have an argument to call victory on a technicality. So yes, there we go, everybody.
That's the refereeing conversation.
That's what we did at Gaming Club this week. So we've got we're going to do a little bit of hobby, a little bit of chat, and then probably in about half an hour we're going to get on to our main topic, which is, if you've seen the thumbnail and seen the link, will know that it's about choosing, well, how do you put this? Choosing colour schemes for painting models, which is something that often you'll see videos about on YouTube. I was certainly checking out some the other day.
I know who the King Tiger is.
Who's King Tiger?
It's V! Because he's meant to be facing you at the end of the month with his lizards.
Oh, hello.
Sorry, V, didn't recognise you behind the keyboard name.
Yeah, but, and to be fair, I didn't realise you were a fan of World War II. Don't see you playing bolt action. We'll have to remedy that. Get a German list with the old Tiger tank. Yep, that's perfectly valid, Crispin. That is certainly an approach. Grab a mini and wing it. That's probably
it's a style.
Yep, and to be fair, that's interesting because both Crispin and Tim have covered basically your and my approaches, haven't they? Really. Because I do what Tim does a lot, which is, and like with my Dungeons and Doggos, for example, when I was painting them, even when I was painting them on stream, I was quite open about the fact it was like, slap down a colour, and then I'd be like, ooh, what should I do for the next? And Crispin sort of like hit the nail on the head with your approach, hasn't he?
Yes, it's very plan. Think about it.
Look for inspiration somewhere, whether it's the box art or the company's resources.
Yeah.
So yeah, gentlemen, both valid methods, I would say. I think I'm...
Where the fuck did my...
Is that better? I'm just going to
managed to lose.
I'm just going to adjust my audio down because I noticed
You're still quite loud.
Cleeping. Yes.
You're cleeping. You're not even clipping.
No,
you're such a professional. You're cleeping.
Yeah, I'm cleeping.
Oh fuck.
And please I don't want to be.
Get that way. Get that way. Thank you.
Let's see if
Right, what
that's
size are you?
still a bit loud. Sorry,
Naught.
everybody.
Size
Try that.
2. I found it.
David down a touch as well. I'll keep my eye on the audio. I was messing about with the audio earlier.
V, in your famous last words, just do it. Because I have a bolt action army, Paul has a bolt action army. I'm sure we can convince Ricky, and I know a couple of the new lads that have got bolt action armies. We can have a right laugh.
I've got 2 bolt action armies, haven't I?
Yes, you've got Brits and Japs, but
Yep.
you're Far East. You don't count.
What do you mean I don't count? Bit cheeky.
Western Front is where it's at.
Western Front. Get over. Get over, sir. To be fair, you're not... It's a common view, isn't it? There's not many people do Fall of Singapore as a bolt action theatre. I'm definitely an outlier.
You're
That's
weirdo.
true.
Well, this Scarlet is very orange.
Is that the Vallejo?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it is. It is very orange. But
I mean,
it does change colour significantly when it dries.
Well, we'll see in a bit.
See, Tim's trolling you.
You lost your brushes again, David. No, I found them now. All is good in the hood.
Yeah. Fucking hell. You can lose the will to live.
I know what we do. I know what we
should
should have had commissioned as
pick the most interesting
art for the
film of all time.
stream.
Yeah.
Is me looking in boxes and everything else for whatever I actually want to paint or find my brushes or my paint. Just literally a box of trash that I'm browsing through.
Yes. Yes, mate. Oh no! Look at this. You see, this is what's brilliant, though, V. If you do that and go North Africa campaign, that means we've all got to collect an army for that campaign, because obviously David's going mid to late war Central Europe.
Yeah, airborne, so I can base. Oh well, actually, I can go from Italy all the way up. So,
and I've gone early war, Fall of Singapore, and Southeast Asia, and you've gone. You see, you've picked the other theatre there, but
North Africa.
Yeah, you've got to have armies for all of those theatres. So that would be quite cool if you did that, because then we do. And in defence of bolt action, it doesn't cost an awful lot to get 1,000 points on the table.
No, it doesn't.
You can do it with 100 quid and change.
My fucking airborne list 50.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly if you go super elite and don't need many models at all.
Fucking obscene, really.
I mean, for example, if you did Desert Rats, I could do North Africa German.
It's not trolling when it's true. Contentious subject there, Tim, but
Is it? I think it is, Tim. I think sort of like, essentially, when you're doing it just to be provocative, even if it's true or not, it's trolling. Just saying. So, have you seen anything cool on YouTube or anything recently, mate? Anything in the news?
No, I have seen something that I'm keeping my eyes on, which is Warcrow going to Kickstarter.
Yes, I did see that. Have you looked at the Kickstarter? Has it even? I don't think it's gone live yet. Is it yet?
It just got the notify option.
Okay, so you've already had a quick squiz.
Yes, because I turned notify on. So as soon as it goes live, I'll know.
Do you think you're going to be backing it?
Don't honestly know. I love Corvus. I love their sculpts. I love the art style. I want to see some more of the game first before I'll put money where my mouth is. Which I think is a fair comment.
Yeah, I'm like I am a fan of Corvus Belly, but I don't know that I'm in a market for a game, a fantasy game. Do you know what I mean? I think
Depends.
that's partly the problem. I'm not excited because it just seems to be more vanilla fantasy, which I have a plethora of. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll only find out when it goes to release, won't we?
See, Tim, I wasn't provoking. I was genuinely curious, mostly. Tell you what, you're a fucking...
Tim, genuinely...
You're a worse liar than you are a diplomat, Tim. That's all I'm going to say.
Has anyone got a red light?
You've got all sorts of options. If you go far east, you can do
Marines,
like Mel,
US
the terrain tutor, do the old Gurkhas, Chindits, Burma campaign. You could do the Pacific Island hopping stuff, late war.
I do like when we played that Marine Corps versus Japs.
Yeah,
that was
on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, you've gone Brits, but when you get your American army done, I can always use my Japs for that. We can do Pacific theatre as well.
Yeah.
And don't forget Russian front. We haven't mentioned that yet.
Front.
You got a whole range of options. Russian front.
Battle of Kursk and shit like that.
Yeah, Stalingrad. So that's one of the drawbacks, isn't it? With
it's the
once you start going down the historical route, it's like I don't know how you guys in the chat feel, but I think David and I are both on the same page that I would not feel comfortable putting a
Russians versus Japs.
Yeah, or even my early war khaki Brits against a late war German European theatre armour, like a Fallschirmjäger army or something like that. I'll be like, this is a bit.
If it was a list trial and demoing for you to get your army, yeah, sure. But
yeah,
like
but even then, I think your immersion would be a little bit off. Maybe we're too picky, mate. I don't know. Or maybe you don't agree. I'm putting words in your mouth there.
I mean, I tell you what I do enjoy.
Yes.
And this is from TTS experience. Running a Sherman with a 105mm cannon and blowing the side out of a church, scaring all of the Germans inside. Absolutely shitless.
Yes.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
Don't hide in churches, boys and girls. This is your public service announcement.
Yeah, I was going to say, just in case anybody is wondering, buildings don't make great cover against tanks. To be fair, not much provides very good cover against being shot by a tank. Being out of line of sight is probably your best bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be doing that again.
That lucky track on that Panzer IV and just manoeuvring around it.
I think, to be fair, it was a noob mistake, wasn't it? I wouldn't do it again.
Well, you learnt your mistake.
Yeah. I'd have been better off staying out of the building because obviously the high explosive inside the confined space of a building is just even more lethal, isn't it?
Yeah, just shreds.
So it was, as I say, a mistake I will not repeat. The thing is, I was trying to
be fair, you did go in that building after the sniper team that were
that
upstairs.
I was just about to explain to everybody at home. I wasn't being a complete dickhead. I did actually have a plan, because you'd got that sniper team in the belfry, which was like, they're going to be a problem. So I thought, oh, that's fine. I'll dig them out. Little thinking that you just wouldn't give a shit, would just shoot this building anyway.
Yeah, because by that point you'd already nailed my sniper team.
Yeah. So it was like, regrets.
Sniper team's nailed, but now the team's inside trapped. Right, fish in a barrel, boys!
Yeah. I don't think I've seen much on YouTube. I was sort of doom scrolling YouTube the other day, thinking there's not much to watch.
Doom scrolling?
Yeah, I do it with my YouTube feed. Is the only thing with which I will probably indulge doom scrolling, where I just keep going until I try and find something I want to watch. But there isn't really a lot out there that caught my interest, to be fair. I don't know if it's been a slow week for reasons, but I certainly struggled to find something to watch. Right.
Yeah.
Let's just. I want an opinion on. Ironically, given the topic we're talking about
you
later,
want an opinion on colour?
Yeah. Almost as if by magic and bang on theme. If I do that, right, mate. So I'm liking the way these colours are going together. We've just got a generic beige down on all the tusks. The reds, the reddy browny oranges are working for me for the.
I've got to wait for it to load up, so bear with.
Rings of Power, Crispin. Oh, God. Yeah, no, mate, I'm talking about watching stuff on YouTube, not watching proper TV. What's Andor?
Not a clue.
I haven't heard of Andor, mate. Just give us the TLDR.
To be fair, Rings of Power's on final episode this week anyway, so it's quite good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, David did point me at Rings of Power, but I can't watch She-Hulk because I've only got Amazon. She-Hulk's not on Amazon, is it?
No, it's Disney.
Yeah, I don't have Disney.
Also, it's Marvel.
I can't do Star Wars either, V, because Star Wars are on Disney, aren't they?
Disney.
Can't do any of those.
Right, anyway, colours.
That's what... Sorry, I get it. Andor is a Star Wars show. Got you. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to watch that. So my question for you, mate, is this guy's got his mouth agape. What colour am I painting his tongue and the inside of his mouth? Red, pink, magenta, some flesh colour?
Not fucking magenta. You're not a heathen.
Well, it'll get highlighted. We're talking about a base note, so bear in mind it's going to get brown washed and highlighted.
Why brown?
Because the whole model's going to get brown. We're dipping and dunking.
I have a recommendation from Citadel. I know you possibly don't have it. Screamer Pink. It's like a... Let me see if I can find it. It's like a mid-tone colour. Let me see.
I was thinking...
I need to stop licking on my brush.
I was thinking I might use brown rose, violet. I don't know if you're trolling me, Tim, or whether you're trying to be honest, but I might be tempted to try it.
How about Cavalry Brown with a bit of what's it called in it? Magenta.
Cavalry Brown with magenta. What?
Just a shame.
Insanity is this?
Well, This is Pink Horror, which is like my highlight cover for
Let
my
me come
Mac.
back to the main picture for everybody. So what, you holding something up? Oh, put it on. Tell you what, mate, put it on your tabletop cam.
Let me find my other colour.
Oh, okay. He's going to give us a side-by-side.
I can't.
So violet for the lining of his mouth. I mean, it's a fantasy boar. You might be onto something, Tim. You might be onto something.
No, I can't find it. Right. Come down to desktop cam then.
Because do you know what? I've seen orcs done with all sorts of purples and that on lips and insides of mouths. Right, Pink Horror. Okay.
This is like the highlighty colour
Yes.
for my wolves that you really liked.
On their mouths.
Yes. Which is similar to like brown rose or something.
I've got brown rose in front of me. It's a little bit pinker. Brown
Screamer
rose.
Pink is darker. It's so this is Emperor's Children.
Yeah.
Which is like my very final high edge that I highlight. But there's a shade that's darker than this, and it's kind of got that hue mixed into it, which is Cavalry Brown, which is why I was saying Cavalry Brown with like a bit of magenta or pink or something.
Do you know what? I'm going to try it. It sounds like madness.
Wrong.
The thing is, it's been a while since I've let your...
Oh, Laura, really?
What
is it? Bully David this evening?
What? Mate,
I don't know why I bother.
You do walk into it, though. I mean, let's be honest.
So far. We've got nice edge highlights on there.
Oh, yeah, of course, you've still got camera. Oh, take an opportunity to show off. Why not? Good for you.
Well, I'm actually doing work.
Shut
up.
Chatting
about doing work.
Oh, my.
There's a difference.
Troll. Shut up.
Who unleashed the troll from the dungeon?
Oh, dear. I'll tell you what, there's one thing about your personality, mate. It's unified the chat against you.
It's always Bully David. You know the rules.
So yeah.
Pick a screen pink on Discord, Paul. Skink also tweaked a thing.
Ah, right. So Scream. let me just hippity hoppity across to my Discord.
Yeah, I assume you're using your mobile Discord, not the.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, I can't. Bugger.
Oh, fuck it, do it. Kill me. Doesn't matter.
I haven't got a screen without David on it.
That sounds slightly creepy.
Yeah, it is a bit creepy. I shall have to. I tell you what. We can always come back. We often don't need Video Ninja for the whole show, so let's just quit out of this. I can switch it back on again and go into Discord on here.
On your mobile.
Yeah, and have a look at this colour. Thank you, Hugh. Wow, okay, yeah, that is really intense, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a good colour, though.
It is a very nice colour. Shame it's in a Citadel pot.
Yeah. So, yes, certainly model colour magenta really is nearly there, isn't it?
Yeah, it just needs a bit of darkening.
John, let's try this.
Are you going with my harebrained scheme?
Yeah, do you know what? I am, because, you know, it's been a long while since I've let you...
Loose.
Yeah, well, let me lead me up the garden path with your fucking crazy colour ideas, but let's give it a try.
The last time I did that was your orcs, and you actually quite enjoyed that.
Orcs. Remind me.
Underworlds.
Oh, the
Telecama.
purple metallic nonsense. Yeah. It was an interesting thing to do.
Who's roasting me now?
I know, it's a euphemism I'd never heard before as well, Tim. God, I tell you what.
Is that your Zine Charmy?
No, I think he's just sort of
just a bunch of dick pics.
Yeah. Dear. Well, if I build my Guild of Summoners 3 Lord of Change.
Just a massive cock and ball.
What's that?
I've got no idea what Laura and Tim are on about.
I think Laura's just having hysterics at Tim's childish double entendre, which is not a bad thing.
Someone's got to.
Tell you what, you've got a good eye, mate. I would say this is pretty much a dead match for Screamer Pink.
What, Cavalry Brown with Magenta?
It is quite weird. Are you sure you didn't read this somewhere?
No, I didn't.
That is fucking insane.
But we've always said, like...
I mean, I'm only going by a reference photo, but it looks pretty bloody close to me. And it's certainly a great colour.
There we go, boys and girls. I'm right at something again.
Yeah, so if anybody does need this in the future...
Screamer Pink recipe.
Yeah, roughly 50-50 of Cavalry Brown and Vallejo Colour Magenta. And it's pretty much on the money for the GW Screamer Pink. Shockingly close. I regret not painting the inside of the mouth first. That is a thing.
Bad decisions were made.
Yeah, mistakes may have been made. So, what are you doing next week at Club, buddy? Have you got your game planned?
Billy and Son.
Oh, right, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you borrowing some ships, or do you have stuff to play?
I'm playing with Drop Fleet Commander minis.
An army of Mewtwooners to Tooners. I haven't got a clue what you're on about, Tim. But
I want some of what Tim is on, just saying.
I could Google it, but that's probably a bad idea.
Well, again, you don't want to end up on some kind of watch list.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's sort of like, it's the old Admiral Akbar moment. It's a dwap!
See, you said that, and I thought of stuff that gets said at Airsoft.
What?
Alan's Snack Bar.
No, Admiral Akbar, you fool.
No, Alan's Snack Bar.
Right.
Oh.
Depth perception 0.
You have got fucking magnifiers on, you did.
Yeah, I know. Normally I'm pretty well adjusted to them, but I've just managed to shoot completely past the tusk and daub dark sand across his nose. Here's a question, right? Are we going to put this Screamer Pink up onto the soft part of the soft face of his nose as well?
No.
You say no, but I think I'm going to do it.
Okay, I'm telling you it's a bad decision now before you accuse me of sorcery.
No, I'm doing it. I think it will be a good thing to do.
Lies.
Because I think it'll give his face some interest, because he is a bit brown. It does have to be said. He is a bit of the, you know.
See, I thought it was ginger, like you.
Yeah, but that's because you're colourblind.
I'm not colour. I clearly am not colourblind.
Look, I realised it didn't work as soon as I said it, but I'll stand by it.
What, you've put it up on his nose and now immediately regretting your life choice?
No, calling you colourblind after you've just been quite obviously not colourblind and managed to call out a colour match. Pull a colour match out of your ass like some fucking...
magician.
Like some sort of colour savant. Yeah, that's banging as a base colour. Get a highlight on that, it'll be wicked. I tell you what, do you know what? These cheap PVC models, they don't take a lot of painting.
No, they don't.
Okay, Tim's look at this. We're in class with Tim. Mutunus tutunus. I'm not sure how would the Romans pronounce that? I'm trying to think of Roman words. Are they all short U's? Tutunus, mutunus, tutunus. Or would they have long U's? I don't think they had a long U in their phonetic set. Was a running gag on OTT, someone goes, colour challenged. Ah.
I don't know, because even though I studied Latin at secondary school, I forgot all of it because it's not helped me at all.
I only did it for 5 years. Are you saying I could do some wall paint on the boar, V? Because if so, remember this is a monster for the Frostgrave set. This is not even a real miniature. This is not a real miniature. So stuff like wall paint effects on this is above and beyond the level of work that we're looking for. This is not the level of work that we're looking for.
The level of work you are looking for. Because you're a hobby cheapskate.
I am hobby efficient. I am not a hobby cheapskate, sir. I'll just have you know.
Yes, you are.
Right, it's coming up for time.
How is building all that kill team terrain going?
Shut up.
How
shut
is
up. Nobody can hear
all
you.
that kill team terrain
Shut
going?
up. Somebody shut him up. Right, I've got to paint these hooves grey, and then we'll go to our main topic, because that is literally the only thing I'll need to paint on this model. And then it's ready for wash. It's ready for its Agrax bath.
Oh, trigger.
Mate, it's a fucking wandering monster.
I don't care.
Oh my god.
Anyway, did
I
you
know.
get the
Go on.
pictures sorted at the beginning of stream intro that we took at the weekend or not?
No, of course I didn't.
Well, I didn't see them, and also they're in the thing, and you said to me about the fact of, oh, I didn't see you upload the bloody bridge when I had done.
That's because all I wanted was the bridge to do the thumbnail on the show, which was 3 weeks ago. And I've now done that. No, mate, because I've said to you before, unfortunately, when you put pictures into an OBS slideshow, certainly in version 27 or whatever version it's in, it has a 3 gig limit, 2 gig limit. So I've got to take those images that you've uploaded to Google. I've then got to dramatically reduce the scale and crop them so that the file sizes are tiny.
Okay.
So it's actually more work. It's not just copying them to a folder, because each image is like huge mega res, isn't it?
I mean, it's a fair size.
Yeah. So.
But that's because I have a decent camera.
Well, no, I mean, my camera was exactly the same. That's why I had so many trouble. Do you remember in their early live streams, I was like, I can't understand why it's only showing the same 6 or 10 images when there's like 30 in the folder. And it was then that I Googled it, and they said, oh yeah,
Tim,
well, it'll load the first 2 gig, and that's it.
Tim, stop encouraging him.
Why? What's he put?
Dip it.
I tell you what, Tim. If I in any way felt that it was necessary, I would, without hesitation. The concern I have with dipping this model is because it is cheap Reaper PVC. The actual surface detail is so soft. I think the dip will actually basically just cover it. It'll just turn it into like a pool ball smooth brown surface.
Fill all of those recesses.
Yeah, it'll just complete. So, thank you for the idea, but I'm ahead of you, and I've already discounted it as madness because, as I say,
I mean, you have just painted the nose.
Hang on a minute. Oh no, okay, that's fine. I just had a thought. What am I using as my universal basing scheme for my Frostgrave? Dark grey. What am I painting his hooves? Dark grey.
3/4 of the way through doing that task, I fucked up.
So, yeah, colour choice, people. Things to consider.
Actually, this segues us really nicely.
It does, doesn't it? It's almost scary. It's like we actually planned it. It's like it's not just complete incompetence, and it's actually brilliance. Yes, so
speak for yourself.
Obviously, on continuing the thought that I've already started to have out loud, this means that although I'm using a grey as a base note for these hooves, I'm either going to have to put an insane bright highlight, or they're never going to be visible against the base, or I may have to repaint and give up on grey. If I don't do grey, what colour am I doing his hooves?
Dude, you're putting snow on the bases, aren't you?
Yes, but not.
So why don't you just put snow where his hooves are?
Yeah. It might look a bit weird, though, that they're exactly placed under each of his feet.
No, because you can... Oh, Jesus Christ, you've clearly never done creative basing.
No, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And you make a point. But if I don't do grey, what colour would I do for hooves?
Well, brown's out of the question because you got his fur.
Well, unless I go insane dark brown, like chocolate, or something like that.
Okay.
I've started to raise my voice again. I promised I wouldn't. Right.
Is your missus just coming in and out again?
No, I can hear my wife moving about upstairs, so I know I'm getting a bit loud. Okay. So, let's put that... Oh, I can't. Right. Here we go.
Right. So tonight's topic.
Yes.
Colour choices. What you need to consider when you're going to paint your army. And when to consider it. As Paul has just realised, he's made a rookie mistake with his basing and his foot colour. The other thing we've sort of thought about as well is the fact that a lot of it does depend on what you're painting and your style. Because Paul has Forge Fathers as a project that's upcoming.
Yeah, so we thought what we would do is just discuss the topic in general, but then we've both got specific projects in mind, haven't we, mate?
Yes.
So, I'm sort of happy with that. There we go. I don't know as I can show off that mouth. I think that colour's worked really well. I suppose it's on his nose, isn't it? It's just about visible.
Your start's flickering. What do you mean, mate? My camera or my face or what?
Not sure. So there we
That's
go.
what I've just asked.
I'm calling mine done.
Good for you.
He's ready for his wash. Yeah. So, right. So tonight's main topic. Now, I'm sure we've all been in that position where we're tackling a project and we get it assembled or whatever, and then it's your camera, he says, mate, it's flickering.
Oh, yeah. Is this warm again?
Oh, I tell you what, it does keep going yellow. Your colour balance keeps going very weird.
Better?
Yeah, you're not. It keeps getting like a green tone to it.
Right.
I don't know why that would be.
Hang on. Let me move my light. Better? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, your face is a bit more shadowed, but you'll have to see if it gives you more consistent light.
No one wants to see this ugly mug anyway.
So, yeah. So you get your project assembled, and then you need to start thinking about what colours do you paint it. And you guys have obviously shouted out in the chat already, but there's a number of different ways you can go about it, isn't there, mate?
I enter procrastinating mode.
I mean, perhaps we should cover Tim's idea first.
Yeah.
Because actually, what Tim's sort of like said,
alluding to,
is that one of the things that you can do is to basically just pick up paints and start slapping them down on your models without any real plan in your head whatsoever. And I suppose you can be as extreme with that as you want. So, like, if you've got like an army that's got like a very militarized or very regular look, they'll all, you know, when you pick your colours, the whole army will end up looking like that. You're really heavily committed at that point. But that sort of strategy might be more effective where you've got highly individualized model collections.
Skirmish model collections like the likes of Frostgrave, Wild West Exodus to a degree.
Malifaux is a good example where every model in your warband is completely unique. So obviously committing yourself to a paint scheme or whatever for that one model isn't necessarily going to have a massive bearing on how you paint everything else. So with my Dungeons and Doggos I mentioned when Tim raised this point was exactly the same. Each of those models is completely unique. They're designed to represent like Dungeons and Dragons characters. So they're a loose group of friends. They're not any kind of military force. They don't have any kind of uniform. So literally picking colours, which is why when I was doing it, Stargrave is another good example. Moonstone's a good example, Tim. Yeah. So for these games, I think Tim's strategy is fine, but the caveat probably is confidence. I think you're going to probably need to be either a highly confident individual in general or somebody who's got decades of painting experience, so that you literally are just utterly confident that whatever you pick, you will make it work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And as I say, I've done it, and I do it, particularly with impulse projects, one-off models, things that I'm just sort of like doing because I feel like I want to do them.
Painting comp,
yeah, that sort of thing. Those sort of, again, painting competitions are a great example because you might be taking yourself to a deadline, and if, like David and me, you never allow enough time and don't do enough prep, by default you end up just picking up paints and cracking on because you haven't left yourself enough time to think about it. So So yeah, that's one approach. As I say, it's definitely a valid approach, but I think to get good results probably does require experience and the right project. Would you agree, David?
Yeah. Yeah. Winging it is a style. I do it very occasionally, very rarely. But the flip side of that is when I'm winging it, I have an idea how I want the finished mini to look.
Yes.
So I go, okay, I'll pick a random color like a brown or a green or something for a particular mini I'm working on.
Yeah.
That's the color. Every other color combination that's going with it is completely and utterly winged.
Okay. So you've got a core color in mind, and then
that's my style of winging it. Like again, the sea blue highlights on the goblins I did for paint and comp this month.
Yeah.
That was just like, I love that color that's going on.
V's just updated his screen name, I see. That's exactly what V's saying there. Pick a core color, and then work from there. And you can either work from there on an experience winging it basis, or as V has said in the chat, you could even use some basic color theory. Now, for those who don't know, and we probably are going to have some people watching you who've got no idea what color theory is or means, it's essentially there are quite a lot of clearly defined.
Grab a color wheel.
I've got it queued up. I've already got it queued up. Calm down. There are quite a lot of clearly defined strategies and or theories about how colour should be or can be used in artistic endeavours. And it doesn't matter what sort of visual art it is, colour theory can apply just as well to how you light a movie scene as to how you paint a portrait. Or even a miniatures wargaming army. And one of the key tools for colour theory is the colour wheel, which we've got a representation of here. You can find thousands of different versions of the colour wheel online. They're basically the same spread of colours in the same layout, because what it depicts is the way that colours in the visual spectrum bleed and interact with each other and these different wavelengths. But some are more refined than others. Some have extra detail added onto them, etc. Another good image that I picked from the internet is this one. So what this shows you is that when you've got the colour wheel, this explains some of the colour theories that you can apply to a colour wheel to generate schemes. So you've got the idea that complementary colours directly opposite themselves on the colour wheel work well together.
Except that particular pair that they've picked, because it always reminds me of fucking Christmas, red and green.
Well, yeah, but and the reason you see it used on everything that's made for Christmas, and also everything that is, what's that? Magic the Gathering, green, red. Gruul, is because it looks good, mate. Analogous colours work together, so any colours that have close adjacency in both saturation and hue on the colour wheel tend to look reasonably good together. Then you've got ideas like the full triad, where you take 3 colours evenly spaced around the colour wheel. The split complementary, where you take 2 colours that are either side of your complementary colour from your main colour, and then you can enhance that even further with the tetradic, which is where you take the colours that are either side of both complementaries, giving you a sort of a distorted rectangle.
Yeah.
But so there's loads of stuff. If people want to read into more depth on colour theory and the application of a colour wheel, in terms of generating, when you've got absolutely no clear idea in your head what you want and you just want something quick, a colour wheel is a great tool to just pick a colour and just crack on with something. So yes, well spotted, Tim. Yes, I did see the Manowar comment. Yes, that was why I was chuckling. So colour theory and the colour wheel is a good way to pull a set of colours together.
Yeah.
That when you don't have a lot of experience painting, you can be confident that when you use those colours correctly, it'll look good. It'll look okay. You'll be fine. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, the other way that you can do sort of the same thing is just simply use the internet to go and find stuff that people have already painted that's similar to what you're trying to do.
Well, again, not even necessarily similar, right? If you see a mini that you really like because the colours on it and whatnot.
True.
If you can lift it and apply it to somewhere else, does it matter that it was for sci-fi and looks amazing if it works on a fantasy army? No, not at all, because it looks gorgeous.
And for example, let's give everybody an example. David and I were chatting a little bit before we came on about how I paint my Forge Fathers. So this is the project that I'm going to be sort of like focusing on most in the near future to get, in terms of a big project, an army project. And here's some images. So I just put Forge Fathers into Google, clicked images, and I've got loads of these images here. Most of the images that Google's thrown me aren't actually fan-based. They're stuff that Mantic's had done for promotional material in the past. And Mantic's tendency has been to get the Forge Fathers painted in quite drab colours. These guys here are sort of a dark beige with orange accents. They've also done... I saw a picture here that was even more grey.
I was going to say, there's one that I've definitely seen that's like green-grey.
Yeah, these guys are just basically grey, with virtually no detailing on them at all. The only outliers I found were when they were painting them up for Dead Zone. Then they tended to use brighter colours. Where's the Dead Zone team? I found a really poppy blue one earlier. Anyway, that's not the point. But anyway, we were talking about painting my Forge Fathers.
It's reference material.
Yeah. So obviously, again, go to the internet. What have other people done? Use that for inspiration. And then David said, well, what about an orange-white scheme? Now, I couldn't find any Forge Fathers that had been painted orange and white, although actually, now I've just seen that. They're orange and white. They work. But I did find this.
Tau for days.
Yeah, orange, white and grey, as this is a really popular colour scheme for Tau. So although I couldn't find an image of a good image of the Forge Fathers painted up like this, I found the Tau, and it's not really difficult to visualise how this would work with the panel armour on the Forge Fathers. Trying to make my cursive kind of grimy and saturated. Cool colours. Yep. Again, it's when you that's something else we'll come on to in a bit, Skink, because obviously it feeds into the colours that you choose.
Yeah.
But again, the point we were making was, if you're searching the internet for inspiration, you'll be able to find the colours that you've probably got in mind used in some way in miniatures. It may not be exactly the army that you were thinking of, but you'll be able to find something that's a close reference without too much effort, I would imagine.
The other thing I do quite a lot,
Yep.
and I did this for both my Infinity armies, is go find tutorials and lift the best bits from one, lift the best bits from another. Like one of the tutorials, I think it was Mr. Shy that did it.
Yes.
About using ice yellow as a highlight color for the periscopes on the fatigues for using.
Yes, I was going to say he does do Infinity.
Ice yellow is in my recipe for my yellow armor, courtesy of another YouTuber. Can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Wasn't it?
So
was it Angel?
No, it wasn't Angel.
No.
So again, that from Mr. Shy tied in really well with my yellow armor that I was doing anyway, and because I've used a highlight color on both that is the same,
yep,
it actually makes coherency between colors that are actually quite disparate in the fact that it's the like a bluey green and a yellowy brown.
Yep. And to just reinforce that, I've certainly talked about it on stream before. Because I use the Vallejo model colour range, and the Vallejo model colour range has a huge amount of different colours in it that are all grouped quite closely together. So you'll get a lot of tans, a lot of browns, a lot of greens, and the differences are quite subtle. But one thing that you can do is use the same colour, base colour on two areas, but then use different highlight colours. Or
different washes if you're going down the coloured wash route.
Even different washes if you're using coloured washes. And doing that generates enough separation between those areas on the miniature that even though they're coming from a common base, you can easily define them and give them their own colour identity.
And they read differently.
Which is, although, again, this comes down to more techniques rather than actually choosing your colours, because even when you've decided what colours you want to paint, to get to your finally painted destination is a different topic entirely, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
And how you can use different techniques to get to what you imagine in your head is your destination. So we've covered Tim's just wing it. We've covered using colour theory. One of the other things that you can do, which was Crispin raised at the top of the show, which is simply copy what the manufacturer does.
Yeah, box art, codex colour schemes.
I think, mate, you got me to bring these
this
up.
actually leads very well into what I'm doing for my project.
Because
so those that have catch stream before know that I went to UK Games Expo and I bought 2 sets for what's it called? Wild West Exodus.
Yep.
The Absolute Power Posse for the Hex, and then the Secret Service for the Union.
Give me the names of one of your Absolute Power minis.
Oh, shizer. Bear with.
It's all right. I've got one here. I know he's in it, so we'll go with him. Creature.
I am going with.
So, let me just bring it on screen. You carry on.
The colour scheme that is done on the unit cards. The reason being, Wild West Exodus is quite a unit card driven game. So therefore, the unit cards have got artwork on them. Rather than go to the effort of make my own constantly, let's just lift the scheme that the is on the artwork.
Yep. And
so,
in fairness to, I'm just going to call them out here for a bit of brilliant visual design. In fairness to War Cradle, the unit cards that they put up online for you to print for your miniatures, you can see here the actual image part of it is quite pastel. It's quite faded, so it's sort of like merged into the background of the card. So if you want to paint your models completely differently, unlike some games where the sort of illustration is front and center and clearly defined, I think you can get away with that and still not feel sort of like, thrown off by the cards being completely different. And I think the fact they've done that was a very clever visual design choice. Don't you agree, mate?
Yeah. I am picking certain parts because, unfortunately, like War Cradle haven't painted up the Absolute Power Posse as part of their studio set.
No.
That I can see. The only stuff that I can see on the internet is from people that have painted it up on the likes of Instagram and other places.
Well, that is
again something I do quite a bit. Is go lurking on the Insta or, like we've already discussed, Google image search.
I've got that image you sent me earlier.
Is that the Insta one?
Yeah, I'll just put that on screen for everybody. There we go. So this is the warband you're talking about, isn't it, mate? Painted by, what's the guy called?
Not a clue.
Opponent Theory. Very nice paint job.
Absolutely
very nice
gorgeous
paint job.
And there's certain elements of this where he's thrown use the character sheets out of the window. Because I know for a fact, where is she? The girl on the left-hand side in front of the Hexalith.
Yep.
Second one in. On her character card in the Hex's data profile, she's actually wearing like all black. And then she has a purple corset.
Well, just using the example I had up, if you look at Creature here, he's done in very earthy, almost earth elemental tones. So you've got a very neutral grey, orange, a lot of use of orange and red for the fire within him. And then these robes are like a brown Hessian colour. And you go to this version, sorry, wrong picture. I mean, he's working very much more in a cold palette, isn't he? Lots of cold greys with a hint of purple, blues.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different colour palette.
But this particular set is really cohesive and reads well as a warband.
Yeah, and this comes back to what Fee said earlier about picking a mood.
Yeah.
Because this guy's got all of those colours. I guess blue is the dominant theme, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got really light blues, like this guy, which is like almost like a pastel blue. You've got a bluish purple, and then you've got more purple themes throughout the army. You've got this sort of darkened teal colour, sort of almost like a blue-grey, and then you've got a full-on bright teal in this jacket. So he's dancing around. Every model is individual. Every model has its own personal identity, but there is still a cohesive theme there, isn't there, mate?
Yes. And again, like, bear in mind, Wild West Exodus is quite steampunky. There's not actually that much copper and brass on these.
No, they're actually quite organic, aren't they?
Yeah.
As sort of steampunk models go.
This is something that me and Paul sort of discussed when we was talking around this topic the other day. Was I'm very conscious of my Secret Service including brasses and coppers because of the steampunk nature, and they've got quite a lot of metalwork on them.
Yeah.
But at the same, because I'm including them in a colour, we come back to the colour theory of, right, well, if I paint brown or reds, actually it's going to get lost.
Yes.
So that sort of forces my hand early on in the decision of, right, I'm doing each model, I'm doing it uniquely, but I want brass and copper to be a common theme because we're in a steampunk world here.
Yeah.
So what can I do that's going to bring and highlight those features out when I'm painting?
To be fair, this is another thing, isn't it? Because it's like my painting the boar's hooves grey.
Yeah.
Black, white, and grey. Those are neutral colours. They don't, as the observant among you will have realised, there is no black and white on the colour wheel. The reason for that is that black and white will go with everything because they're neutral.
They're tones.
They don't have any colour identity of their own, so that they can be safely used with anything, pretty much. But we're not just talking about using the colour as a colour. We're using the colour on a three-dimensional object to give that object shape and contrast and definition visually. And this is where considerations like David's just mentioned about, well, if I'm putting a load of brass and bronze metallics, if I start using reds and oranges, nobody's going to be able to tell where his arm finishes and his coat begins. Similarly, my boar, it's all very well giving him grey hooves, but if I've got a grey basing scheme, nobody's going to be able to see his feet. It's going to be like he's hovering off the ground. So, this is the next level of choosing the colour scheme of your army, is that...
Again, it's like I said to you the other night. Are you going to put any battle damage on? And if so, give consideration on how you're doing it. Are you going to do it tarnish and rusty? Are you going to do silver scratching, etc.?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to do it rusty and brown and black, don't paint your army brown and black. Or grey even. Paint it a bright poppy colour so that weathering stands out from a mile away. Like it should. Give it its place. Same with if you're going to do silver scratching and that kind of thing. Don't paint the army bright and poppy colours where you're going to lose that detail and definition. If you're going to spend the time and effort to do it, go about pulling it out and making a feature of it. And I've been guilty of it, of painting stuff too bright, over highlighting, not drawing enough attention to weathering and details. But I myself, in how I paint, is actually, it's poppy, but at the same time it is quite subtle. Like my highlights, I don't go quite so stark as Paul does.
No.
I go through 2 or 3 highlight steps and end up with very bright specular highlights that are in the orange spectrum on a dark red. Whereas Paul would go, like, for example, black, red, possibly scarlet in 1 or 2 places, whereas I'm going up into the oranges.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's mostly for speed. I don't want to be putting 3 layers of highlights on when 2 will do. Because of time.
No, and it's a contrast between our 2 painting styles. So again, find what works for you and use it.
Yeah.
If you find tutorials are your jam, resort to tutorials. Because the other thing is, using tutorials and seeing a really nice miniature and doing it as per the tutorial then helps you grow and develop confidence in your own skill set.
Yeah. Particularly when you're a beginner, for somebody to hand you a step-by-step guide, and you can tell by looking that you're going to be happy with the finished product, is a real boon, because that the whole thing about doing something and then not being happy with it can be really soul destroying and demotivating when you're a beginning painter.
Yeah.
So, it definitely can be the right answer to just copy what's out there, copy what somebody else did. It's not a case of, oh, that's wrong, that's lazy. It's not. There is no right or wrong to this. There's 100 different ways to do it. And the truth be told, most people who are in the hobby long enough will probably use 100 different approaches over 100 different projects. You never approach the same project twice.
And somebody's already probably done something very similar to what you think is a genius idea in your head.
Yeah. Just to call out one other thing that we've not really mentioned in passing, and Hugh made a very good point. If we look up in the chat, so Hugh put here, there's a Space Marine chapter with any colour you can think of on it. And this sort of raises the issue of, well, what if I want to do something that doesn't follow colour theory? Or the colour theory says that if I put these two colours on my model, it'll be wrong. Let's just call that out now. That's wrong thinking, okay? If you do it and the look was what you were going for and you're happy with it, it's not wrong, okay? End of story. It was totally right.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter what other people. It certainly doesn't matter if you put that out there and people are like, oh, well, you can't. What do you use that colour for? That looks garish. That looks horrible. Well, maybe that was the look you were going for.
Yeah,
maybe you've got a Harlequin's army. Sorry, mate, I was talking over you.
No, if that's the intention that you set out with and it achieves the goal that you want, be happy with it. Yeah, be proud of it.
Definitely. Yep, I agree with Tim. You're doing the hobby wrong comment is just the only thing wrong is that comment. The emphasis should be on the word your hobby. It's his hobby, her hobby. Leave them alone. Let them get on with it.
So long as you are making progress in whatever direction, it doesn't matter. Any progress is better than no progress.
Now, the flip side of it is if you're not happy with the look, having a look at some things like basic colour theory might help you to switch on in your own head. That's why it looks off. That's why it doesn't look like I expected to. The answer might be there. But as I say, if you're happy with it,
and again,
it's not wrong.
I've just had a thought here.
Careful,
and
mate.
We have kind of already touched on it with you and your Frostgrave escapade this evening.
Yep.
If you have a setting in mind or you have a basing scheme in mind, for example, Frostgrave and Snow, and that's going to be a constituent feature of the model, stay away from those colours. Let the basing contrast the miniature and let the miniature pop off the base.
Yeah.
Unless there's intention behind it, for example, a Snowy Ranger.
Well, and again, there are 1,000 different ways that's relevant. If you've got cavalry mounted on some sort of beast, say you're doing lizard men mounted on dinosaurs, a good idea is to do them different colours. Otherwise, if you do them the same green scaly skin, you're never going to see them.
Yeah.
Because this is the other aspect of painting. The scheme, remember, when you're thinking about how you're putting your paint down, you're putting it on a 3-dimensional object, which is generally very small, and you want the different parts of that object to be as distinct and readable as possible.
You want metals to read as metal, fabrics to read as fabrics, you want skins to read as skin. You don't necessarily want the sword that's held 3 inches off the end of his nose to read as fabric, for example.
No. And unless you're the kind of top level painter where you put 10 to 20 hours into everything you paint just to generate visual texture with techniques like wet blending, stippling, whatever,
Dry brushing,
then a lazy way to do it as a beginner painter or somebody who paints stuff for speed is the colours can portray the textures just as well. Because of the world we live in and because of the colours we see every day, our brain will make assumptions about colour palettes. Okay, and those sort of tricks, visual tricks, are a very quick and easy way to get an effect you're looking for without a lot of work.
I can think of one easily off the top of my head. I pretty much always resort to German camouflage beige for bandages, rope, and other fabric items.
Yep.
The reason being, cream to me reads very well as it's organic, it's fabric, it's everything else, because I don't paint a lot of cream metals and that kind of thing, or armor or metallic surfaces. So that's a little trick that I have.
Bonus points to anybody who spots that Death Guard mini in the intro run. That is the one. That is the one exception, because I wanted to do pallid hand color scheme. Yeah.
For 40k.
But I get what you mean. The one that occurred to me was browns. You know, if you put brown on a model, your brain will tend to read it as something matte, bark, leather, something naturalistic, soil. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of, it's because that's what we see every day. Our brain is immediately, oh yeah. I mean, just to highlight the different moods, because actually coming back to V's point, one picture I did have queued up that David gave me was this one. Now, the super observant among us will notice this is the same warband as we were looking at before. In fact, if I switch back to them quickly, these are the same models.
Night and day difference between the two.
But you look at the using those soft, natural palette, browns, greens, reds, that's given that a completely different look visually. Completely different. Night, Laura.
Night.
Oh, what's Hugh done now? Spilt the wash. Yeah, right of passage, mate.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Pictures or it never happened, Hugh.
No, it did. It's guaranteed. It's Agrax. I mean, to be fair, I think people should. I would assume, unless somebody provides video evidence, if they've ever used Agrax, they probably spilt it. Because great design pots.
You love the pots.
So I think that pretty much wraps us up in terms of how do we do it?
The area.
Let's talk about our specific projects. Do you want to go first? Should we go first with the Forge Fathers?
Go first with the Forge Fathers.
Okay, so as I've said earlier, the first thing I did was look what's out there. And frankly, most of the Forge Father paint schemes, they're Marauders, you fool. Most of the Forge Father paint schemes I've seen are pretty drab. They're quite nice. Blue and gold. They're an outlier.
Oh god, it wasn't Agrax, it was Drakenhof.
Oh god. Yeah, that's messy. Now you see, this is quite interesting because we've got the two colour schemes, I think, because this is Mantic again. These are merged in the same shot. I find that a bit jarring. The basing's completely different. The colouring's completely different.
Yeah.
That doesn't look great. So again, from a project point of view, no, wouldn't do that. This grey and orange, it's fine, but I'm not inspired. So one of the things was I thought, well, I'll look at the fluff. And unfortunately, there really isn't a ton of fluff out there. Basically, the Forge Fathers are a mysterious race that like to keep their secrets. The only thing that Mantic really gives away is that they're very high tech, very cagey and isolationist. But that's about it. So again, the fluff didn't really give me any inspiration. But one thing I do know is that I'm almost certainly going to be using speed paints. So this is my colour palette, because these are the speed paints that they currently make.
And that you own.
Yeah, because I've got the whole set. Now,
and again, there's no shame in limiting your model choice or colour choice to what you've got available to hand. Not everyone is going to have every single Vallejo model colour or almost every colour like me and Paul do.
Well, and also because I'm choosing this is definitely going to be a speed paints with the Army Painter product. This is why I'm doing this in this way, because it obviously highlights to everyone there are so many factors that can line up in how you choose your colour scheme, depending on how restrictive you want to be with yourself. Some people might want to say, no, I want this scheme and I'm going to match to this photo I found online, so I'm going to go out and spend 30 quid on paint just so I can get that right. Obviously, I'm coming at it from the other way, which is that I want to get it done quickly. I've used speed paints and I know that they will do what I want. They will allow me to get this painted very quickly and very well.
Yeah.
But this is the palette I'm limited to because of the product I'm using. Now, we like we said, we discussed the orange. David also said, well, what about going for something salamanders, the classic green and black, with maybe some orange accents.
Yeah.
Obviously, the choice of green is hugely varied. Some people go for a more vibrant limey green. Some go for a more muted, what I would call forest or natural green. Some are really dark, like this one. And again, this one, the gold is accented more strongly than the black. But again, there's not necessarily one way to do that. I mean, to be fair, I am sort of drawn to this, but coming back to colour theory, one of the things I rarely do is an analogous scheme where
like the green, blue, yellow,
where I keep my colour choices very tight within one sector of the colour wheel. And it occurred to me, because these Forge Father models are quite basic, I'm going to be honest, they're not. That's not a great picture, Paul. Have we got a better one? No, that's too small. I shall find a good one if it kills everybody. Here we go. These models are quite basic. So you've got armoured panels. There's contours on the panels and vents, but they're not decked out with details like some Games Workshop designs are. They're really quite simplistic.
Yeah. Which is no bad thing.
No. And particularly from a speed paint point of view, it's a godsend. And I'm wondering whether I should go with an analogous scheme, pick 3 colours that are really quite tightly grouped on this wheel, and stay in my zone. What do you think, mate?
I think it's an idea. Just pull up a colour wheel a minute, mate.
I've got one on screen. You'll catch up in just a second.
Because I'm just thinking off the top of my head what you've also got other army-wise.
Yep.
Because, for example, your Necrons are blue and yellow. Okay, it's actually beige, but it is in that yellow area.
Where, yeah, the beige is sort of like very pale, this zone. And then we've got the blue from here.
What about like a purple, blue, and a teal?
You're pretty much where I was going with it, actually, because when I looked at, I thought, shall I do an analogous scheme? And then I looked at the army painter range, and I looked at this teal, and I thought, ooh, plasmatic bolt. I do like that paint. And then I thought, well, okay, so if we go plasmatic bolt, if we go either side of it, I want this sort of mid blue and a lime green. Well, I don't have a limey green.
So you've got to go the other way into more the oozing purple.
Well, I could do Hive Dweller, Magic Blue, Plasmatic Bolt. But I did think I could probably stretch the green and go Plasmatic Bolt, Magic Blue Orc Skin.
I don't think so.
You think
it's
not yellow enough? Because out of the three greens, Orc Skin has got the highest yellow content, which is that part of the colour wheel, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Orc Skin is the closest to this margin.
Yeah, I've got to wait for the margin to come back up.
So if you imagine the three greens we've just looked at, Orc Skin is the one that's got the highest yellow content. Absolution green or whatever it is quite dark. It's almost like a grey green.
The only reason I'm kind of drawn to the purple, blue, teal.
Yep.
Is because purple's quite a royal colour.
Yeah.
And dwarves. Bloodlines.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of purple armies from memory.
No, this is what I mean. You've got your... Are they teal or are they pink Stormcast?
They are pink and teal.
So you've got pink and teal Stormcast.
Yep.
You've got yellow and blue Necrons. You've obviously got your Space Marine Raven Guard, which are just black, and other factions like some Blood Angels and some Ultras.
Yep.
You've got your Khorne, which is just all mono red. You've got your Tzeentch, which is all blues.
Yep.
And pinks. You've got, again, you've not even really got anything going into that purpley red area kind of the spectrum.
No. So let's call this. We're saying this is done. Then we're making a decision now. We're going to go Plasmatic Bolt, Magic Blue, and Hive Dweller. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
possibly thin that Hive Dweller a little bit to keep it in the same, because that Hive Dweller purple is very dark.
It is. It's almost black. Unfortunately, but we can thin it. It'll be fine. So, next question: where are we placing this on the models?
You got models to pull up.
I will have. I'm just trying to work out if I can get a model that's a picture that's a decent size. Ugh. God,
have you not got one to hand that you've got, and just put it on minicam?
I could go upstairs and get one, but this is fine. This'll do what we want, I think. There we go, everybody. That's good enough. So just wait for David to catch up.
Yeah, I'm caught up. You zoom right in.
Right. So essentially they're armoured all over.
Yeah.
You've got shoulder pads. And then the rifles. They've also got like a knee pad area that's been picked out here.
Yeah.
And then the weapons are obviously quite clearly separate.
Yeah.
But I'd probably do them with metallics. And you've got different weapon types, missile launchers, magma cannons, flamers.
Yeah, or again, do the Infinity style of black plastic because it's the far future.
Yeah. I'm not so bothered about the weapons. So, where would we place our colours on these models? And even the larger ones, like the Hearthguard, these big guys, they're very similar. Yeah. They're just all armour panels.
You're doing analogous.
Yep.
So your mid colour ideally wants to be your dominant colour.
Is that okay?
This is just me thinking out loud.
Okay.
Because the two colours either side of it obviously go with it as pairings, but if they're on a smaller area as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, I know what you're saying. So you're thinking magic blue would be the main colour?
Yeah, whatever your mid colour is out of them that you've got.
Magic blue. Plasmatic blue bolt is one extreme, hive dwellers the other, and then magic blue is the central tone.
I would probably do magic blue armour, hive dweller fatigues or undersuit, and then your plasmatic bolt on like the shoulder and knee pads.
Yeah, that works. I think that could work.
Or the other way around, have a lighter undersuit and then purple on the shoulders and knee pads. But that's how I would do it.
Yeah, no, I think you've hit it. I think you've hit it right first time. You are right. You could do it almost like an inverse shaded effect, where the lighter colours are on the bottom and the darker colours are on the top. But we've already said Hive Dweller is a bit excessively dark.
Yes.
So if we're sticking it in recessed areas that are...
It's going to be basically black instead of purple.
Deeper on the model. If it comes out a bit over dark, it probably doesn't matter. No, I think we'll go with that, mate. If I just do basically the whole lot zenithal,
yeah,
and then I can just start slapping that stuff on. Basically, magic blue the lot, and then the hive dweller in the darkest recesses, like the fabrics, the undersuits, maybe gloves and hands. Maybe we'll see how it looks. And then do plasmatic bolt for things like armor pads, shin pads, knee pads, whatever.
Do you want to go down to my minicam?
Yeah.
Let me just change this to daylight mode.
There you go, sir. You're on.
Should I go higher?
On that red?
Yeah.
But bring the sail in.
It doesn't read particularly well under this light. Bear with me. Reads better now. With the blue. So there's definition and highlighting on it. It definitely reads better not on my minicam. Is the unfortunate. Where's a really good one? There we go.
I would probably go higher, but I do tend to go a bit more extreme.
The other thing is, though, don't forget this is a club set.
Yeah, I mean, it's optional, isn't it? It depends how much you want to do Job Plus. It looks perfectly good. I mean, ultimately, does it look flat? No, it doesn't look flat because you've got some deep areas of shade on those roofs. It looks fine. It looks absolutely fine. You can read the texture, you can read the definition.
And it certainly reads well as a pair.
Yeah, and they are very close to the way the way you've painted it. So, mate, that's my decision. That's my project done. What thoughts do we have on your project?
Well, my project is to follow the art on the cards.
You're
is the honest
literally
answer.
gonna. Have you started picking your colours or thinking about your scheme?
I'm just about because we got a couple of minutes before the end of stream. I know it's basically 10 o'clock, but
Oh, it is. Good catch.
I'm just trying to.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do while you're fiddling. I'll see if I can share a picture of my boar with his Agrax bath dried for everybody at home.
No, I don't want that fucker.
There's mine. All done. Just come in and give him a spin. As I say, we need to come in with some highlights, I think. Just to give him some...
You dry brushing or?
I'll definitely dry brush the top fur. I'm not sure that dry brushing will work on the main body because, as I said earlier, the details are so soft.
V's just made a valid point for me. It's a small scale.
Yes.
Do I need to go excessively high with a highlight?
I would, but I know I would do it precisely because...
This is the difference between yours and mine, for example. Right, so you've got the PDF open with the unit in, haven't you?
I have.
So on page 3, in the bottom left-hand corner is Garrett Morden.
Scrolling up now. Got him? Yep.
He's got burgundy, blue.
There we go.
Leathers.
Oh, no.
On him.
Forget that, people. That's the wrong thing. Yes, carry on, sir.
He's got burgundies, blues, and leathers on him. So that's where I'm going with that one.
He looks similar to the paint scheme we saw, wasn't he? He was done in like a... It was more teal, to be fair. That's more of a navy and gold look, isn't it?
Yeah. Then on page 9 is Megan Wild in the bottom right-hand corner, who's one of them. And Maria Torres Villa in the top left-hand corner.
Wow, that Megan Wild is really striking.
Yeah, jet black, really like vampiric skin.
Yeah. It's almost like... Is that a grey-green or it's just a grey? Golden grey and black.
Golden grey and black.
And who was the other one? Maria Torres Villa?
Maria Torres Villa in the top left-hand corner with her purple that ties in with the main guy.
Yeah.
In his character artwork. Again, leathers, golds.
She's got her golds almost like a yellow or white gold, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very blonde to go with her hair.
Then I'm just trying to find the last guy. The third man is on page 13. And he's the boss in the faction. So again, he has this purple, but it's more of a bluey purple.
The third man.
Maria, yeah. Bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, like you say, purple, gold themes again. Very muted, though.
Yes. So I think I'm going to hold myself to the artwork. The other thing is, as you've probably already noticed, above the pictures of all these in the top right-hand corner, is the faction symbol for Hex, which just so happens to be purple and white.
Oh, yes, good call. Yes. So actually, if you... Because I was thinking, your guy who's golden and blue, you could even... If you keep that... You can always take the burgundy elements to full purple. So you've got purple on everything. And it would still work, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
So
very good, mate. Very good. So, we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. We've got some...
Tim, you're an hour ahead. Stop being a fucking troll.
Oh dear. We managed to get our projects planned and sorted. Hopefully it's been informative for those that watched, and it gives you guys an idea of some of the things that you need to consider, or you perhaps should consider when you're painting or planning to paint some miniatures. Having said that, as we said right at the top of the show, if you just want to fly by the seat of your pants and just, because again, if you just want to crack on with a project and then just take little corrective steps as you go, the world of hobby painting is full of people who've cut every corner and solved every problem 1,000 times. If you think you've painted yourself into a corner, if you get on YouTube or the internet and look for somebody who's been in the same situation, I guarantee you'll find an out, and probably with minimal effort. So
Yeah.
don't, as the thumbnail said, don't get painter's block, don't get petrified, because you're going to mess up your project by doing the wrong colour. Just
there's no such thing as the wrong colour.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, if you genuinely couldn't be a pain in the arse, Tim, I don't think you'd be here, would you? It's sort of like, it's like, take all of your toys away. Yeah, see you on Tuesday, buddy.
I'll try and be there on Tuesday, Tim. I'll probably be watching on my mobile, but I will try and be there like I was not this week, the week before.
Right, guys, it's time for us. I hope everybody's enjoyed the show. Please, if you can't do anything else, like the video. If you've got more time and more inclination, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's all very much appreciated. For everybody who was here in the chat, thank you so much for interacting with us and making it an entertaining evening. And for anybody who's catching up later on YouTube, your interaction is just as appreciated. And get in the comments below, what obvious hints or tips or pointers or factors did we miss when we were putting this little piece together? What other things do you need to take in consideration when you're choosing colour schemes for your miniatures? And it's good night from me and David, unless you've got anything else, mate.
I think the only thing I just want to touch on is what V's literally just said in chat. Best piece of advice he's ever received is to paint bravely. Pick up that brush and just work. Yep. Work and do it. Anything can be fixed, no matter how bad it is.
Do not be scared. Like David's just said, there's no problem you can't get yourself out of. Anyway.
And if there is, you've gone down a path that everybody will help you with.
Yeah, you're not alone. Anyway, good night to all of you, and we will see you next week.
Bye.